a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
And yes, welcome to the Consumer Quarterback Show, always helping you win as a consumer advocate, making you more street smart here in Tampa Bay. 10 years on air now, and real excited about the growth around the company. So we like to feature our real estate listings live on air. We'll do that in just a moment, and we'll give a shout out to our lineup today. Former St. Petersburg Mayor Rick Baker in the house. We're going to talk with him about the Tampa Bay Rays name change controversy, we'll call it, potential there, and also just get into some other topics around his efforts now in Winter Haven to kind of model Winter Haven after St. Petersburg. And also as a lawyer, longtime lawyer, I want to ask him about lawfare, what's going on in this country in terms of the lawfare that we're seeing on a national level. And also second half, Mark Hay, our financial advisor, expert contributor, going to talk about the market and what's happening there and investments with Mark Hay coming up here on the show. Before we do, a couple of hot listings here. We like to feature our real estate properties live on air. 3864 50th Avenue South. This one's in St. Petersburg, Pinellas County. Remodeled property for sale. Owner is motivated. We have a property that is just completely remodeled. It's down south, a little further south towards the Maximo Marina. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, 1659 square feet, fully remodeled. This property has a beautiful layout, lighter color scheme. People love that these days. Stainless steel appliances. Got an island in the kitchen. And it's a block away from the recently renovated Maximo Marina and famous Tiki Docks, close to I-275 there as well. 3864 50th Avenue South, St. Petersburg, Florida. Another one of our hot listings here in Tampa Bay. And you can see all of our real estate listings at platinumcoastalelite.com.
This is God's country.
All right. Former Mayor Rick Baker in the house. Welcome in, Rick.
Brandon, it's great to be back with you.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And bring us up to speed for some folks that don't know. You were the mayor, I think, from 2001 to 10.
Right.
So you served 2 terms.
We had a great run.
Yeah.
We had a great run. That got done in St. Pete back then, and we now have this booming downtown. Wasn't always that way, as you know, Brandon.
Yeah.
But that worked out real well. And then since then I've had I can't hold a career, Brandon. I was 2.5 years vice president of the University of South Florida system. Then Bill Edwards, the Edwards Group, hired me to be president of all those companies. And I did that for 5 years, which was a great run. We got a lot of development in St. Pete, downtown and other places. And for the last 5 years, I've been working in a lot of different roles, but 2 of the bigger ones are I'm in the autonomous vehicle business with a group called Coast Autonomous, which is very cool.
Nice.
We'll talk about it. And I'm helping the folks in downtown Winter Haven redevelop their downtown. Like you said, they contacted me, said, we love what you did in St. Pete. Can you do it over here? And so I've been having a lot of fun in Winter Haven.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Exciting. Yeah, that autonomous vehicles, man, there's a lot to be said there. I mean, you look at the technology, you start thinking about AI. Where is that whole sector going? Autonomous vehicles, though, tell me about it.
It's cutting edge. It's we have a development center. It's based out of LA, the company, but we have a development center in St. Pete. And we have we have shuttles, like 8-passenger shuttles to move passengers around. We've been doing it over at UCF, but what we've really kind of segued into and evolved into is in the railroad industry, and we're moving people, parts, and like containers around railroad yards.
Huh,
and it's going to be a very successful company.
Wow.
You can imagine if you can figure out how to remove the labor factor out of all that, and let autonomous vehicles take over, which we are doing right now. We're actively doing it. So
yeah.
It's really cool.
Wow. Now, how far are we, or what is the likelihood of autonomous vehicles driving the roadways, competing with regular passengers?
I think there's 100% likelihood. As far as the timing of it is concerned, that's anybody's guess. But I think it's, I would guess maybe 10 years. I wouldn't be surprised if in 10 years, when you call your Uber, there's not a driver in it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised with that at all.
I saw that.
Maybe sooner.
I saw that movie, and that was part of the end of that
I really
scene.
think that's what's going to happen.
Let's talk about the Rays, the Tampa Bay Rays. I read your article a few days back, and I can see the argument. People in St. Petersburg and the tax base of the dollars coming in. So the name change, if you haven't heard, there's some controversy around potentially changing the Tampa Bay Rays to the St. Petersburg Rays. What's your take?
Right, and yeah, so I wrote a column last week on it, and actually the Tampa Bay Times editorial board agreed, and they wrote a parallel column with my column when we published it, saying the same thing, saying that
Wow.
they think it should be the St. Petersburg Rays. They said they believe it's best for the region if you have a stronger brand St. Petersburg in addition to a strong brand Tampa, which I think makes a whole lot of sense.
That's interesting.
My feeling is more of a selfish perspective. If Pinellas County and St. Peter are going to put $1.3 billion into a enterprise, then they ought to get the name St. Petersburg in the name of the team. The team ought to be named after St. Petersburg. I don't know why it would even be controversial. And I'm, by the way, if Tampa wants to put $1.3 billion into a team and give them 86 acres of land in Tampa, I'm fine with that. And
Yeah.
they can name it the Tampa Rays or the
Sure.
Tampa Bay Rays or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
But if St. Pete's going to put the money into it and they're going to put the land into it, it ought to be named after St. Pete.
Interesting. What's the counter argument?
I've never heard a good one.
Okay.
People talk, but I had somebody's interviewing me for an online print story, and they said, well, we've been looking for somebody to be against it in St. Pete. We can't find anybody in St. Pete against it. And I don't know why anybody in St. Pete would be against it if you're going to put the money in, if you're going to put the
Sure.
if you're going to put the effort into it. Brand is important for a city.
Oh, yeah.
It impacts your ability to recruit businesses and your ability to get tourism, and so it's economic development for your community. Brand is important, and it's civic pride as well.
Sure.
So if and you've watched the TV shows, whether it's the Bucks or the Lightning, I love them all, by the way.
Yep.
But whichever one it was, the announcers interchangeably use the words Tampa and Tampa Bay. They
Right.
go back and forth. Right.
Right.
They nowhere is St. Pete in any of that.
Right.
So it really makes sense if the city's going to invest that much in land and money, that the name ought to be St. Petersburg.
So who's the ultimate decision maker?
I think it's ultimately going to be up to city council, because
Okay.
city council's got to decide whether they're going to give them the money.
Got it.
And so city council, they'll either put a requirement in there that they name it the St. Petersburg Rays, or they won't. But
Wow.
that's going to be up to them.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
If you just joined us, we're talking with Rick Baker. He's a former two-time mayor of St. Petersburg, and we're talking about the Tampa Bay Rays potential name change. Wow, it is an interesting, it's an interesting argument there. I mean, the dollars. What do they say? Money counts, right? The money speaks.
Well, yeah. I mean, I go back to it really doesn't matter to me that much where they are in the Bay Area.
Right.
If they want to be in Tampa, then and Tampa wants to pay for it, and they want to give them the land, then name it Tampa or Tampa Bay. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But if they're going to be in St. Pete, if the city's going to give them 86 acres of land,
Wow.
and give them 1.3 billion along with the county, then it ought to be St. Petersburg.
That's a lot of dollars going into those things.
That's a lot of dollars going in.
So your background as a lawyer, you've working on different areas of law. What are your thoughts today? And did you ever think we would be here as a country where the political landscape, it's gotten so polarized, the political landscape, and then this weaponization of the DOJ, and that new term called lawfare. It's literally warfare, but it's lawfare. In other words, we're gonna stack as many cases against you as we can if we don't like you, and we're gonna make you show up at court. We're gonna subpoena. They say the process is the pain, is the punishment in a sense too.
Well, I think, in my mind, there's nothing more frightening for the future of our country than the weaponization of the justice system.
Yeah.
Right. And what some of the things we've seen the FBI do, what some of the things the Justice Department do,
Yep.
what we have now state prosecutors in Georgia doing right now.
Yes.
And it's I mean it really is very worrisome. And you can go and indict 30 people and then get 20 of them to cop a plea and testify against the other guy, right?
Sure.
And they win most of the time. They win most of the cases. But is this good for the country?
Right.
When you're trying to take out a presidential candidate,
Right.
by trying to put them in jail
Yeah.
and tying up their time and their money and everything else, and I just think that's awful. I think it's awful for our country. And no matter what side you're on, you should not like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. It's definitely a challenge, and it's something that I didn't see happen. I wouldn't see this happening. I would not have predicted the amount of arrests. Rudy Giuliani, America's greatest mayor,
Right.
Steve Bannon. Just because they're on the cabinet, Peter Navarro. And the list is endless. And the one that they went after too, well, there's a couple that come to mind. There's a someone that put out a meme. Douglas Mackey put out a meme. Something about, text your vote here, skip the lines, and it was against Hillary. So they arrested him. He's going to face prison time for posting a meme on social media.
Yeah. I think it's scary. It really is. But people in power, people with the ability to put you in jail, and that are going after things politically. That's not that. Anybody out there listening ought to worry about our country for that, just alone. I don't care what side. When I was mayor, I was known as the most nonpartisan mayor there ever was. I worked with everybody. Didn't matter to me what political persuasion they were. I just didn't care. And I would think that no matter where you come from politically, you should worry about the fact that we have started a system where prosecutors are going after political people for political reasons.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
Yeah, it really is. It's tough. And J6, a lot of the new J6 footage just came out. That's a whole nother narrative. That was, if you look at actually what happened, peacefully protest. President Trump says, go and peacefully protest. They totally sold a narrative, hid a bunch of J6 tapes. And now a lot of this information's coming out. You're seeing the video, people walking through a Capitol, and their charges are being enhanced to a terrorism charge. And then, people are committing suicide. Some of the prisoners actually committed suicide, killed themselves over the fear of what the DOJ did.
It's awful. It's really awful. It's really awful. And you don't excuse people breaking into the Capitol and that sort of thing. They need to be punished for it. Just like in the riots that went on for all over the country.
That's right.
People should be punished for those too.
Exactly.
I'm not sure they were to the same extent, but the people that broke into the Capitol certainly should be punished.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's more to it than just that.
Sure. Yeah. Dual system of justice is what we're seeing, the term that you keep hearing. Another very pernicious situation happening is this ESG. So the insurance industry in the state of Florida has been under some extreme challenges, say the least. The state legislature met. They enacted some measures. I was looking at another podcast that really did a lot of research into this ESG deal with BlackRock. So essentially what happened, what I'm reading or what I'm seeing is that BlackRock has, in essence, said, look, if you're a red state, like Governor DeSantis went after, in a sense, Disney with what they were doing with the schools and the kind of coming against him against the curriculum. Which was teaching sexual things to 8-year-olds, which is not too far. It's not something to ask too crazy to ask. Hey,
and how does Disney get into that?
Yeah,
why does Disney get into that?
Exactly.
That has to make you shake your head about.
It really does. Yeah, and then so they're the BlackRock, this ESG, $10 trillion company. They're in essence they're forcing or they're creating situations where it's not financially feasible or enhanced where. These insurance companies want to leave red state. So I think that's kind of something that a lot of people haven't seen or heard. But what's your thoughts just in general about this ESG and a lot of these investments, money flowing through into those ESG entities?
I would have to confess a lack of knowledge on that. I mean, I understand. I've heard of it. I basically know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, as a developer now, and I am in the development world, the impacts of what is going on in our insurance industry right now is devastating to development.
Right.
I mean, if you think about it, if you have a large development, and then you all of a sudden your insurance goes up. You have, let's say, a huge apartment complex. Your insurance rate premium goes up by $300,000.
Right.
In a year, and then you apply a five cap rate on that. I mean,
Yeah,
you've just decreased the value of your investment by millions of dollars.
Yeah,
and then you go try to get refinancing, and that's what's happening out there.
Right.
Then they try to go out and get refinancing based on this depreciated value, based on the increased cost of insurance.
Wow.
And that is. I mean, you're seeing some projects, I think, that are going to have problems because they can't get the refinancing they need. They can't afford to get the refinancing they need because their premiums went up when you apply the cap rate to the increased expenses.
Right.
It's devaluing their project. So the insurance is something we got to fix.
It's a major issue in the state of Florida. We got to take a quick break there, pay some bills. More coming up with former St. Petersburg Mayor Rick Baker here in studio with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Make sure you stop by our website, consumerqb.com. Check us out and support the real estate company at platinumcoastalelite.com. We'll be right back here on the Consumer Quarterback Show.
Hey, this is Grant Cardone, and you've been listening to the phenomenal Brandon Rhymes, the Consumer Quarterback Show.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
Dennis Prager here for Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, owners of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. Buying, selling, investing in real estate, their nationwide Keller Williams network makes them the best team to work with. Sellers, have your property featured live on air, creating multiple offers. Buyers, leverage a unique system that gets your offer accepted, never overlooked. Call or text 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550, or consumerqb.com.
I want to give a special thanks to Satellite Phone Store. They just hooked me up with this beautiful satellite phone, and it's a gorgeous phone. It's a great device. It's a safety device as well. Think about it. If you're out on the boat 40, 50 miles out, maybe you're going hunting or you're going hiking in the woods somewhere, you run out of cell phone service, or who knows, maybe a possible terrorist attack. It's not like our politicians aren't entrenched in all this stuff going on overseas, all over the place, all over the world. Could be a terrorist attack. They could attack the power grid. They could attack the cell phones. Who knows what they're going to attack next. Sat123.com/REQB. Sat for satellite, sat123.com/REQB, like real estate quarterback.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here in studio. We're talking with Rick Baker. He's the former two-time mayor of St. Petersburg, and we're going to touch on that in just a moment. Before we do, just a hot listing here. We've got some hot listings here in Tampa Bay, and we also list properties nationwide outside of our area. We've got a property that I'd like to feature and highlight. This one is in the Carolinas. This one is up in the Carolinas, Heaton Forest Road. Beautiful property here. 11 bedrooms, 10 bathrooms, 10,000 square feet. It's a $9 million listing, co-listing with the Bill DeVore Real Estate Group with Keller Williams Professionals, KW Professionals, up in the Carolinas. 530 Heaton Forest Road, Cashiers, North Carolina. A luxurious oasis in High Hampton. Great opportunity to own a luxury property, mansion, estate-style home on 20-plus acres of land. Heaton Forest Road, Cashiers, North Carolina. Tell all your friends about that love to golf. There is a golfing community right there with, of course, some of the biggest names in golfing frequenting there. Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, and the likes. So check out all of our listings at platinumcoastalelite.com. Check out platinumcoastalelite.com.
Sun is shining, the weather is sweet.
All right, so wanted to talk about autonomous vehicles and also a little bit about what's going on there, the model that you've proven in St. Petersburg and taken over to Winter Haven.
Yeah, Brandon, who would have guessed that we could have pulled this one off in St. Pete? You remember the day when you could fire a cannonball downtown and not hit anything in St. Pete. And now it's got to be one of the coolest downtowns in the country, by far. And there are thousands and thousands of people living. The arts, the character, the Grand Prix has been so successful. All the pieces we put in place over those years to make it happen have absolutely worked. So the folks, there's a group that called 610. They own about half of downtown Winter Haven. It's a group that's been working on it for 20 years. They're all guys from there. And they contacted me about 5 years ago, said, well, we want you to do what you did. Say, Pete, come over here and help us do it over here.
Nice.
And so we put together a plan, starting with residential. So we're building 500 apartment units. So we're going to do 5 different projects. We're on our 3rd one right now. Building apartments units, been very successful. Nice high-end ones. They're 10-foot ceilings, balconies, the whole bit. Nice amenities. We're in 2 weeks, we are opening the first hotel built in downtown Winter Haven in 100 years.
Wow.
And it'll be the first time you can rent a hotel room in downtown since before World War II.
No way.
And it's a 108-key Staybridge Suites hotel, beautiful downtown hotel facing the park. The city just put over $1 million into the park. It's coming along. We got the same folks that Mark Johnson that started the farmers market for me in St. Pete when I was mayor. He came over, designed a farmers market for Winter Haven. Now we got a farmers market going there. And you remember I built Beach Drive when I was mayor in St. Pete, because that was, I think, one of the great catalysts for the whole Renaissance, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so we've got a 2-block run of Central Avenue in Winter Haven that we've we've taken out the parallel parking, doubled the size of the sidewalks, and we're putting 11. There are going to be 11 food and beverage establishments, a few bars, lots of restaurants, wine bars,
nice.
And a 2-block run with all sidewalk cafes, umbrellas, and the whole bit in the heart of downtown Winter Haven.
Very cool.
So it's really. It's coming alive, and I'm kind of jazzed.
What's the population down there?
Population of the city is probably about 60,000, 70,000, something like that. The population of the county is about 800,000. So compare that to 950 in Pinellas or so, and it's a big place. It's also the second fastest growing MSA in the country. The second fastest growing metropolitan area in the country is Winter Haven, Lakeland, behind Austin, Texas.
Yeah,
it's killing it. And right now, the Quicken Loans just did a study in February, named Winter Haven the 3rd fastest growing city in the country.
Wow.
So I'm as I tell people, I'm going to have to really screw it up to not get this right, because we got so many people coming here already. Yeah. We just have to do things right, get them to come downtown and be part of it. We have lots of restaurants downtown now, lots of activities downtown. We're building a whole area, kind of a mini armature works type area called Bowen Yard in the downtown Winter Haven. So it's really, I love, me, I love building cities. That's what I like to do.
That's cool.
And so I'm getting to do another one. So it's fun.
I love it. Yeah. So I'm looking at Florida Realtor Magazine here, recent article. It says Polk was the fastest growing county in Florida and the 7th fastest in the nation. So yeah, that's true. And
as of the last census, which was the 2020 census, it was the 2nd fastest growing in the country.
Wow,
so
that's amazing.
It's moving.
Very cool. So just a couple minutes left. Take about a minute and a half and tell us about the autonomous vehicles. And you mentioned something about yard dogs?
Yeah, so we're in the railroad yards. And so, for instance, in Winter Haven, there's an intermodal there where CSX brings all of their containers coming into the country.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting.
Bringing all their containers into the country into a railroad yard. So they have like 5 cranes that are pulling them containers off and putting them back on what they call a yard dog.
Nice.
And the yard dog goes and parks them. Well, we've put our autonomous technology in the yard dogs.
Very
so
cool.
As they're getting dropped off of the railroads, and you can do it with a port, you can do it in a railroad. As they get dropped off, and they get shuttled off and parked until the cab comes and picks them up. But there's a million uses for autonomous technology anywhere, any industry, but certainly in the railroads.
Yeah, that's very cool. About 30 seconds left, but you got an opportunity to play guitar with the Marshall Tucker Band in St. Petersburg. That must have been a very cool
experience. I did. They were I'm a Southern rock guy. I play guitar. I sing badly, but I do it anyways. And Marshall Tucker was coming to Vinoy Park, 25,000 people. Doug Gray, I said, well, will you let me play? And Doug Gray said yes. He was the lead singer. So I played Can't You See with the Marshall Tucker Band.
Nice.
And I got to sing second mic, and I did the third verse. And you can't imagine, like every kid in the garage playing guitar is thinking of that day,
Oh, man.
And he's looking out, and all of a sudden you're about to play, and you hear the flute part at the beginning of Can't You See?
Oh, yeah.
And you just get goosebumps all the way down. And then you play. It was great.
Good stuff. Rick Baker, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it.
Wonderful to be here, Brandon. Thanks for inviting me.
My pleasure. All right, taking a quick break, coming back with our financial expert, Mark in the house. Consumer Quarterback Show. You can find us online at consumerqb.com.
This is Work Done, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.